Great. Well, welcome back to the show. My name is Mikhail, hanging out in hot and sticky Florida this week, here with Daniel, security expert. How are you, Daniel?
Hi, I'm good. Happy
You
4th of
got a new
July.
background.
Past now, but around the time we recorded, it was just happened. So
Yeah, happy 4th. Unfortunately, not so happy for a lot of the people in crypto, specifically around those that own Azukis. Obviously, there was a big downfall with the release of Elementals. I think it's called Elementals,
yep.
and pretty much identical to the original, right? So there's a lot of people that were very unhappy about spending their 2 ETH, and there was like a spinoff, right? People that formed a DAO, and then to make things even worse, that DAO smart contract had an exploit. So like things are just not looking great right now for the Azuki community members. They're very split in terms of their decision. Part of them are saying like, "Hey, we would never even consider suing the founder," and another half is just very livid right now. So, what do you make of all this?
Well, I think it's not just sad for Azuki holders. It's sad for every holder of NFTs. Like, I don't know if you've seen, but I mean, the whole NFT market is just crumbling to the ground because of this Azuki incident. And I think it's a little more, I mean, I think it's more of a cluster than you even described, right? Like, because like, not just what you said, which was interesting, right? That the elementals look too similar to the original. So like it basically diluted the value of the original collection. But it turns out a lot of people were leveraging NFTs as collateral for borrowing. I didn't know that. But this Azuki thing like caused this cascading effect where a lot of Azukis got liquidated. And then I guess like if you're a hardcore NFT collector and you own Azukis, you own other things. So when your Azukis get liquidated, guess what you do? You sell other NFTs, and then those things go down. And then these other people who were lending off of those blue chip collections got liquidated, and it just created an entire like floor collapse across the entire NFT space. So like bunch of people crying on the timeline, bunch of sadness going on, people declaring doomsday. And I mean, I don't know. My thoughts are more like I have a question. I mean,
Yep.
do you really feel sorry for them? I mean, like, for example, okay, yeah, the Azuki collection looked similar to the other collection. Well, I mean, I kind of feel like if you're gonna buy an NFT before you even see it, then you're speculating on the developer's credibility anyway, right? So then, yeah, you're disappointed. It sucks, but can you knock anyone for this? Like,
Ultimately, I think it's a trust factor, right? Whenever you wear a brand, you wear it because you trust that brand. And in
right.
this particular case, they obviously lost the trust of their community. And so, I mean, to your point, you're they sold out in 15 minutes. So if you're gonna be buying something, obviously that the hype was real. They were teasing it and everyone was so excited about it. And it kind of reminds you that we all have to temper our expectations because this is still a very young industry, right? As a crypto as a whole, specifically around NFTs, and NFTs traditionally are known to be volatile. So I know sometimes we look at these more reputable brands and we think, okay, this is why we purchase them because they don't have the same volatility. But at the end of the day, it's still an NFT, and so you kind of have to temper your expectations and remember that going into it. So I don't know if I mean I feel sorry for anybody that loses their money in crypto because I'm just a big fan of the industry as a whole. But it's one of those things where I think that we all just need to temper our expectations.
Yeah,
It's
but
what
I
you
mean,
sign up for.
was Azuki really a trustable brand though? Like, I mean, I don't know if you saw like all the news, but like the founding dev, I think his name is Zagabon or something. Like, this guy has had a history of just abandoning projects. I mean, like he's had other NFT collections where he just totally just left his users high and dry. But the interesting thing was, he made all these promises for development and a future and a plan, and didn't follow through, ditched his people, and then he kept his royalties in place so that if anyone sold, he'd make money off of the dump. So, I mean,
I think actions speak louder than words, right? And so when you sell out an NFT that costs at 2 ETH to start, right? You sell out in 15 minutes. I think about like the failure of like the Porsche NFTs, and I don't remember how long it took them to sell out, or even if they sold out. I know that thing was a disaster, but Porsche itself is a very reputable brand for many years, right? And here you have Azuki, which has not been around for as long, of course, totally different industry, but in the time that they have been active, they gain the trust of their community, and so it is what it is, I guess. I'm not too worried about the industry as a whole. I know Bored Ape is down. I think last time I checked, it was like 16%, maybe down even more now. I think it's just the initial shock, right? Anytime you see something like that in crypto, you have the initial shock, and then things tend to rebound. So I don't see a reason why we can't rebound. How about you?
I'm always a pessimist. I don't believe in PFP projects, period. I think, maybe that's just me. I know like before NFTs, a bunch of people paid money to join a club that did absolutely nothing but brag about how you had money to join the club. So I guess that's what NFTs are essentially. They're just like, they also give you a nice cartoon that they claim you own. So cool. But I'm more excited about blockchain actually bettering our lives, not blockchain being used as an online way of saying you're part of a cool club that pays a ridiculous amount of money for cartoon pictures that anyone else can use.
But if you take away the community aspect of it, like, aren't we just like traditional banking and, Mr. and Mrs. Ty, and it just takes the fun out of it, right?
Well, maybe, yeah. I guess it's true to a point. I just don't. I don't know. I don't get excited about. I think that there's so much more potential for a decentralized ledger that operates on a universal protocol that everyone can follow. Like so much potential in interoperability of lots of services that require data. I'm more excited about that than like I don't know. Yes, I guess you're right. Like being part of a community is fun and everything, but there's other ways to do it, and you don't need to build a whole blockchain for that. So
Yeah. Well, speaking of something a little bit more technical, Polynetwork, they just recently suffered their second exploit, and I have my theories on everything, but I'm curious to first get your take in terms of like what happened. Obviously, there was a private key exploit, but I want to get your take on it, and I'll shed some light into maybe something that it could have been an inside job. I don't know.
yeah, I think it's totally shady. So for those that don't know, Polynetwork is a cross-chain bridge. So you basically deposit money on one chain, you withdraw the same amount of money on the other chain, and that's it, right? But since it's two chains, you need, not the wrapper, just it's actually two chains. Like you need some non-chainish sort of service to figure out that, like, yes, it's true, this guy who deposited this amount of money is legitimately withdrawing that amount of money on that chain. And how a lot of bridges do it, and Poly also did it, is the use of some off-chain component called keepers. And like keepers are just this guy that kind of looks and goes, all right, yeah, you did deposit like 20 ETH over here, so you can deposit 20, you can withdraw 20 pegged ETH over here. And then they sign off on it. And in order to make it decentralized, you multi-sig, right? So that means that not just one party has the power to like control who does and doesn't get money on the chain, to keep it honest, right? So they did a 4-person multi-sig, so supposedly 4 independent parties, and you had to have 3 out of 4 votes. That's the way they did it. And this hack was 3 out of the 4 keys got compromised. So the attacker could withdraw anything he wanted as long as he linked it to another. He didn't even. I mean, I don't even know if he even had to link it to a deposit, but he did. He deposited like nothing, like a penny or something, or a fraction of a penny into token, and he withdrew like billions of that token on the other end of the chain, on the other chain. So I think
Yeah,
I think it's super shady because it's like you've got 3 out of 4 keys were stolen supposedly. These keys, like these accounts, these keepers did not change for like years. So it's not like the hacker found some way to put in his own accounts as keepers. It was like 2 years or something where the keepers were the same, but the private keys have been stolen. And Polynetwork's response is the weirdest part. I mean, I feel like when that happens, you should just immediately jump out and be like, oh my God, my keys were stolen. And at least, even if you're lying, it kind of looks like you're freaked out about it. But instead, they're like sending out these like cryptic tweets. It took them like hours to even acknowledge that a hack happened.
7 hours.
Sorry, like yesterday a hack happened. You lost all your money, but like keep calm and like, don't worry, everything's fine. And they haven't even acknowledged that any keys have been stolen yet officially, which is super weird. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
It smells
Taking
funny.
7 hours to respond, and during that whole time, there were 5.5 million worth of crypto that was stolen. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit of a delay. Now, I don't know if they provided a response to that delay, but that seems like a very long time, right?
Nope, their responses were really funny. They're like, everybody calm down this difficult time. There's been a compromise. We've advised everybody to pull their liquidity and like, just chill while we investigate it. It's like, okay, thanks for nothing.
Yeah. And also, do you know if they even had knowledge of the vulnerability? I mean, I think they went through a series of audits, so I imagine that these auditing firms let them know about these potential vulnerabilities. I mean, it's hard to imagine that they didn't know that there's a possibility.
I mean, what can you audit on that? Like it's a multi-sig, right? So I mean, like, sure, I guess an auditor, I didn't see an audit for Polynetwork, but even if you did, the auditor would be like, hey, you got a 3 out of 4 multi-sig here. So if 3 people are compromised, bad for you. I mean, everyone's gonna go like ho hum, whatever, whoop de doo. Like, obviously, like you don't have to tell me that if somebody breaks into my house and steals my computer's gone, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
to me, it's kind of like an audit wouldn't have saved you here. I mean, it might have been able to announce like, hey, 3 out of 4 is not super safe, but then what's the magic number? 100? Do you need 99 out of 100 people? Like, I don't even know the answer. So
Yeah. I think if anything, the whole suggestion that somebody on the inside was involved really highlights the importance of KYC. I more and more I think that that needs to be like a standard process, like for all audits, that the team, the CTO, the developers who develop the smart contracts be KYC'd. Because otherwise, you get into the like this whole like investigation aspect of it, and you don't really know like who's involved. So I don't know. I feel like it needs to be standardized.
I think the Web3 community needs to figure out what they mean by the word audit. I mean, it's like, to me, ever since I joined the community, audit has always meant to me a code review that is paid for and is for the like project itself, not for the users. I've never thought of an audit as something that protected me from the project rugging me, right? It protects the project from getting hacked. At least to me, the economics make sense. I mean, yeah, sure. The project might say they're doing it for their users because the users would feel more safe, but I it's never been the case to me that audits are focused or even claim to be focused on like the users having absolutely no risk of being rug pulled. And like I've seen lately like people complaining like, oh my God, this project was audited and then they rugged, and they're like so upset about it. And I'm just like, okay, well, are you like a noob? Have you not been in the space long? Like, so I'm sorry, like I get it. Like if you're a noob, the word audit sounds funny because like an audit is supposed to be something bad for the people that are audited, right? Nobody likes to be audited. Like I don't want my like the IRS to audit my taxes, right? Nobody wants that, right? But like when you really look at what it was in Web3, like people are paying for this to happen to them. So like if they're the paying customer, then they're the ones that are getting the protection. And that's always been the expectation until recently. I'm now hearing like all this talk, like, oh my God, well, you were audited. How is it possible you were rugged? But I mean, so I guess what I'm saying is if the Web3 community could agree on what the word audit meant, then I could take a position on whether KYCing was important. If audit really means this is something to see the risk to the users and who cares about the project really, like, then sure, yes, you got to KYC the project developers, because rug pulling is, I don't know what the percentage is, but a large percent of the scams that happen in Web3. But if it's really for the project itself, then like I can see why the audits would still be focused on exploits from outsiders rather than the possibility that like an insider is gonna take the money and run.
See, to me, audit means transparency because ultimately, the reason why these projects are doing it is because they want to build the trust with the community, which ultimately what the purpose of an audit is, highlight, okay, these are the areas that we deem to be risky, use this platform at your own risk, so to speak. So I think ultimately it's the transparency aspect of it, because ultimately that's how the projects make money. But this is why we have these conversations, Daniel, to have these debates, and it's always a pleasure to shed some light on everything that's happening in the security world. Where can people connect with you if they have any additional questions or they would just want to talk security?
As usual, my DMs are open on Twitter. Genster112, Genster112. Happy to talk to anybody about anything, anytime.
Awesome. And any parting thoughts for the listeners?
No, I think we covered a lot. I could go deeper into this whole audit debate if you want, but like we can save that for another time.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for your time, Daniel.
All right, take it easy.
All right, one sec here.